sent in some articles about Evan Ferguson's loan move, and, well, it's deadline day, right? And there's a lot to talk about with this one.
Yeah, definitely a lot of layers here.
It's not every day that you see a young striker with so much potential switching clubs, in the middle of the season.
Right.
Especially to rejoin, I guess, his old manager, right?
Yeah, it's what's interesting to me is like the whole context around it. On the surface, you have a 20-year-old who everyone thinks is going to be a superstar.
Right.
Reuniting with the manager who gave him his first start when he was only 16.
Wow.
But then you look a little bit closer and you see that Ferguson wasn't getting a lot of playing time at Brighton, and West Ham really needs some goals.
Yeah.
Their whole starting forward line is injured. So this loan has the potential to be like a huge turning point for Ferguson's career.
For sure.
And maybe could even save West Ham's season.
I mean, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
He's going from a team where he couldn't even get on the field to a team that is totally relying on him to score goals.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what happens to Ferguson if he doesn't do well?
Well, he's still really young.
Yeah.
But there was so much hype after he got that hat trick against Newcastle.
Right.
If he goes to West Ham and doesn't score, it could really hurt his confidence. Maybe he just had one good game, or maybe he just needs more time to develop before he's ready for the pressure of the Premier League.
For West Ham, though, they kind of need to win every game now because of all their injuries.
Yeah.
We talked about their entire forward line being out. Jared Bowen,
right?
Nicholas Fulkrug, Mikal Antonio. Those are big losses.
Huge.
Can Ferguson really replace those guys?
I mean, that's the question, isn't it? To really know, we'd have to look at what kind of players West Ham is missing. So Bowen is super fast and likes to run at defenders.
Right.
Fulkrug is your classic big target man. And Antonio is just a powerful all-around forward.
Yeah.
From what we've seen from Ferguson, he's more of a really good finisher in the box. So he might not be able to do exactly what those other guys did.
So maybe West Ham is hoping that he can change his style to fit what they need right now.
Yeah. They must have a reason for wanting him, especially since he wasn't playing much at Brighton.
Right.
Graham Potter must see something in Ferguson that he thinks will work at West Ham. Maybe he thinks he can get Ferguson to play differently.
Right.
Or maybe he just thinks his goal scoring is going to be enough to win those close games.
Okay, let's go back a bit and talk about Ferguson's career. So we know about the hat trick.
Right.
But for people who haven't been watching him, what are some of the other big moments that got him to this point?
Well, just playing professionally at 16 is amazing.
Yeah.
That tells you how talented he is. And then last season, he was nominated for the PFA Young Player of the Year award.
Oh, wow.
Which is a huge honor because it's voted on by the other players. That means they already thought he was one of the best young players in England.
That's awesome. Yeah. So you have this young player, starts early, gets recognized by other players, scores a hat trick against the top team, and then suddenly he's not playing at Brighton. What happened?
Well, they got a new manager, Fabian Hertzler.
Okay.
And he clearly had different ideas for the team than the old manager, Graham Potter.
Right.
It's not unusual for new managers to like certain players more or want to play a different way. And it seems like Ferguson wasn't part of Hertzler's plan.
I see, but, I mean, to be fair to Ferguson, he didn't have a ton of time to show what he could do with the new manager.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe if he had more time, he could have adapted and earned a spot.
Maybe.
But now he's going on loan. So we're left wondering if this is his chance to show Brighton that they were wrong to bench him.
Right.
Or if he's being put in a really tough spot that he's not ready for.
Yeah, it's there are two stories here. One about Ferguson and how good he can be.
Right.
And the other about whether West Ham can stay competitive.
Right.
And they're both kind of connected, which makes this whole thing super interesting. Exactly. And it all depends on whether Evan Ferguson can score those goals that West Ham needs so badly.
It really does seem like there's a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
For both Ferguson and West Ham. You have this young player trying to find his place.
Yeah.
And a club that's really struggling to stay competitive because of all the injuries.
For sure. And the pressure is definitely on, especially for Ferguson.
Right.
And you sent some quotes about the move. It's interesting to hear what they're saying about it.
Okay.
Ferguson said, "It feels good to be here. I can see and know how big West Ham United is. It was a big opportunity for me to come here."
So it sounds like he's ready for the challenge.
Yeah.
He knows what a big club West Ham is.
Right.
And he's excited about the opportunity. But he also said, "I know the gaffer well and look forward to working under him again."
Yeah.
That's got to be a huge plus for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that relationship with the manager can make all the difference, especially for someone young who's adjusting to a new team and everything.
Yeah.
He already knows the coach, and the coach knows him. It's not like he's going into this totally blind.
Right, right. And Potter seems to be just as happy about the reunion.
Yeah.
He said, he's a player we obviously know very well, so I'm grateful to the board for bringing him in. He's got plenty of quality attributes as a striker that we believe will benefit the group over the course of the coming months.
It's funny. He says Ferguson has all these quality attributes, but he doesn't actually say what they are.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, is he talking about, like, just raw talent? Or his finishing ability? Or is there something else that we haven't even seen from him yet?
That's a good point. It's like Potter is suggesting there's even more to Ferguson than we know.
Yeah, maybe.
But Ferguson also said he wants to score goals and see where we get to. I mean, that's what everyone's expecting, right?
Totally. Both Ferguson and West Ham are looking for goals.
Right.
And that's where it gets tricky. Remember how we talked about the tactical fit?
Yeah.
West Ham needs goals, and we know Ferguson can score them. But can he do it consistently in a system that might not actually suit his style? That's the big risk they're both taking.
Yeah. And it makes you wonder about the money side of things, too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, did West Ham have to pay a lot to get him on loan? Are they paying his salary?
And it's
Things
not-
like that could put even more pressure on him to do well.
Absolutely. And we don't know the exact details of the deal.
Right.
But you can bet there are financial reasons involved. And that always adds a whole other layer of, well, pressure on a player, especially a young guy trying to prove himself.
Okay, so we've talked about all this pressure, the tactics, the potential, even the money.
Right.
But let's step back for a second. What does this move tell us about Ferguson's career and West Ham's season in the bigger picture?
Well, for Ferguson, this is a chance to prove everyone wrong.
Yeah.
To show that he's not just a, like, one-hit wonder.
Right.
That he can play in different systems and that he can handle the pressure of being the main guy for a team with big goals.
And for West Ham, it shows that they're willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
They desperately need goals, so they're bringing in a young player who hasn't played much in the Premier League. It's a risky move, but it could really pay off if Ferguson does well.
Totally. And it could even affect things beyond this season.
How so?
Well, if Ferguson is amazing at West Ham,
Okay.
what happens at Brighton? Will they want him back?
Right.
Or will they try to sell him because now he's more valuable?
And what if West Ham loves him and wants to keep him,
Exactly.
especially if their injured players don't come back fully?
It's like this whole chain of events has been set off by this one transfer.
Yeah.
It could change the future for both Ferguson and West Ham. It's really interesting how one move can have such a big impact.
For sure. For sure. Okay, so we've talked about a lot.
Oh.
You know, Ferguson's early success and then his struggles at Brighton,
Right.
West Ham's injury problems and all the tactical and financial stuff about this loan deal.
Yeah.
But in the end, it all comes down to what happens on the field.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, we don't know the future,
Right.
but these articles give us a lot to think about.
Yeah.
Can Ferguson get back to playing like he did before? Will he be the goal scorer West Ham needs?
Right.
Or will the pressure be too much? Will it hurt his development?
It's a big gamble with no easy answers.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this whole deep dive so fascinating, right?
Yeah.
We've looked at the information, we've talked about the context, we've considered different perspectives.
Right.
Now it's up to you to decide what you think will happen.
That's the great thing about football.
Yeah.
You never really know what's going to happen. You can analyze and predict all you want, but the game always has its own way of playing out.
And it's going to be really interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
Can Ferguson find that magic again? Will West Ham's risk pay off? We'll definitely be watching closely, and you should too.
Definitely. One thing's for sure, though. Everyone's going to be looking at Evan Ferguson.
Yeah.
The whole football world is waiting to see if he can make it.
And I think that's a perfect place to wrap up our deep dive.
Yeah, good one.
A young player at a crossroads, a club fighting to survive.
Right.
So many questions.
Exactly.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive into the world of football.